Many people look at Paraguay and especially Asuncion and think, why would anyone want to live there long term? And honestly, it's a fair question because back in 2024, August 2024 is when I first got here. And I stayed for a little bit over 6 months. And after those 6 months are up, I still wasn't exactly sold if this is where I wanted to be long term. So I ended up leaving. I went to Colombia for a few months, visited my folks back in the States, in Boston, and ended up coming back here in August of last year, 2025, exactly 1 year later when I came the first time. And this time I actually built some roots. I got my residency, got my cedula, got a bank account set up, and started building some real connections here. And honestly, since I arrived, I haven't left since. We're now in April. We're now in April of 2026, and I haven't even traveled once. So something clearly changed. And I know a lot of you are probably in the same position I was, researching, maybe traveling places like Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Central America. And then you hear about Paraguay and you're like, okay, I get the residency part, I get the cedula part, I get the taxes part, but why would I actually go live there long term? And I even had someone on my channel, an American, comment on one of my videos saying, okay, I understand why a European would want to go to Paraguay, mainly for the tax residency. But why would an American actually want to go live there? And that's exactly what I'm going to break down in this video. So I'm going to walk you through my favorite things about living in Asuncion, Paraguay, coming from someone who's been here for a little over 16 months now. And more importantly, what makes this place different than anywhere else I've lived in South America or all over Latin America. And by the way, if you're new here, my name's Alex. I left the US back in 2022 and built an ideal life setup here in South America through building location independent income. And now I help other men do the same. So let's dive in. So here is a brief list of my favorite things about living in Asuncion, Paraguay. This is in no particular order. Number one, my morning routine here. So my morning routine here is on point, right? I wake up, I do deep breath work, then go into a meditation, and then I'll do some stretching, and then I'll go right on my balcony, right on my terrace here, and hit some calisthenics, right? And I know a lot of people complain about the weather here, but in the morning, like in the early morning before 7 a.m., the weather's on point, all right? So you're probably looking at, I don't know, maybe like 30 Celsius or a little less, a little cooler, depends on what time of year it is. But I always found that I'm always able to work out from my terrace, without a shirt. I can just go in my underwear and just get it done, right? Within 20 minutes, I'll bang out my calisthenics workout. I'll drink good coffee. I'll do what I got to do to prepare for the day, and then I'll just get right into work, right? I'll usually content related or YouTube related stuff is what I'll work on in the morning. Afternoon, I'll hit some sales, but before I even hit sales, I can go to another coffee shop, maybe go to Juan Valdez, grab a cold coffee instead of a hot coffee in the morning. Later in the afternoon, I can grab lunch with a friend or just grab lunch on my own or just maybe cook something. I've been cooking a little more recently. And then in the evening, there's always something to do. But my morning routine here, guys, I think it's very important to have a solid morning routine. If you could start the day off right each and every day, it's going to lead to a great day. It's going to lead to a great week, a great month, quarter, year, life. And for whatever reason, I'm just feel better here, locked in, having consistent morning routines than I have in other cities. So that's just me. But yeah, morning routine is definitely one of the things that I love here. Another thing that I love about Asuncion is the community of like-minded guys and the social opportunities that you get here. So I've talked a lot about this in other videos. You have a lot of other entrepreneurial-minded guys, athletes, people that like to play sports, men in their 20s, 30s, 40s. They're all in their building stage, right? They're looking to either build their online businesses or they're working on a skill. A lot of them, most of them are single or unmarried. So again, if you're a single unmarried guy like I am in your 30s, you like to play sports, maybe you played baseball or football or you wrestled in the past. I mean, you have MMA gyms, you have boxing gyms, you have paddle communities. I'm part of all these things. I boxed here, I paddled here. I paddled here. I play paddle here weekly. And it's just really nice to have whenever you want, you can just connect with like-minded guys and do something social or do something physical, right? As far as like athletic, there's run clubs as well. I think it is important to have a group of like-minded guys, even if you have just maybe 2 or 3 friends or 1 or 2 friends that you can hang out with after work, maybe grab lunch with them, after work or something like that. I think it does make for a better quality of life. And on this channel, I talk, all things, quality of life wise. So having a good community of like-minded guys does improve that for sure. The amount of social opportunities that you have, right? Just from birthdays, going away parties, asado invites. There's a bunch of, there's language exchange schools. There's different types of meetups. There's different types of WhatsApp groups. I have a friend that started a late night crew where if you want to get outside your apartment, you want to work on a project late at night, past 9 p.m., there's actually a late night crew WhatsApp group where you can go to a certain cafe and they're open to, and they're pretty much open all night. And you can you can work together late night and get some stuff done, which I think is pretty cool. There's different, like I have another friend that started a board game WhatsApp group. So now there's that, there's run clubs, as I mentioned. There's all types of different sports you can join. So whatever you need is going to be here for social opportunities, which I think is pretty cool for a mid-sized city of only 2 to 2.5 population area, right? We're not in a mega city like a Lima, Peru, or Buenos Aires, or Mexico City, or Bogota, where obviously that's a lot easier to find. In a small mid-sized city, I mean, to have this type of social opportunity and like-minded guys, I think is a good thing for sure. Next thing that I enjoy about living in Paraguay is my dating life. All right. So dating is something that I don't talk about much on this channel. I don't want to attract the wrong type of person on the channel, but I have to speak on it because, again, I talk about quality of life as a heterosexual male in his 30s, and dating has a lot to do with that, right? So my dating life here in Paraguay, I mean, it has its challenges, of course, but overall, I am definitely happy with my dating life here. I find Paraguayan women are cute. They're very attractive. They're very chill. They're relaxed. They're homebodies. If you want to date seriously, I think Paraguay is a great place. If you want to date casually, I think it's still a good place as well. It's not like the States where girls are expecting you to take them to a restaurant or a fine dining experience on the first date. Like what? Like, I'm not going to do that, right? So here, simple first dates work great. Just take them to a coffee shop, take them to like a nice bar where you just get one drink each for, an hour and a half long. If you want to take them back to your crib, get to know each other a little better, that's cool. If you want to just set a second date another time, that's cool too. I mean, I've even had dates at the Costanera where the girl likes to drink tereré. She brought her termo and wampa. We just sat on a park bench in La Costanera. Had a great experience just drinking tereré. And so that's what I mean by like chill and relax. I literally spent no money that date. So I just love the chill and relaxed vibe here. And I know a lot of guys use, the apps. Yeah, the apps can work, right? I've seen guys meet some good quality women from apps, even like Tinder. I do think most of them you won't find that type of quality girl that maybe you want. And a lot of times that girl that you saw on Tinder has probably dated, one of your friends already. So, it's hit or miss sometimes, but I think some better ways is just doing organic, right? In person, whether it's asado, maybe you see them at, walking about, or organic online too, meaning organic Instagram, organic Facebook, which has worked very well for me. I have systems in place for that. All you literally need to do is just have a decent profile, send a friend request and a follow, the ones that follow you back or accept your friend request. Now it's like a match. So it's kind of like your own dating app, right? And then you just start the messaging, get their phone number, get on a first date, and kind of take it from there, right? It's pretty systematic, and it's very it's not as time consuming as you think it is. So once you have the right systems in place, I think that dating becomes a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. And I think that's very important to have because, dating's not my number one priority here. All right. But it's still something to maintain actively as, if you're a healthy heterosexual male, you're going to want women in your life, right? Whether it's casual, whether it's serious, it's up to you as long as you're honest with each other. I think, there's nothing wrong with either. But as long as it comes easy, it comes effortless, it doesn't take a lot of bandwidth or time away from, your mission, your focus, your goals, then I think, that's a good dating life. And that's what I have here in Asuncion. Now, some challenges. Yeah, you'll have women flake on dates, or maybe you'll have women that seem like they're really into you and then all of a sudden they go cold. It just comes with the territory a lot of time. But overall, I am happy with that area of my life here at this time here in Paraguay. Another thing I love about Paraguay, I got to mention it, it's the purchasing power and the cost of living. Now, I know I recently did another video that prices are going up. And yes, in certain zones, it definitely is. If you go to Shopping the Sol or Las Lomas or, Paseo Galeria, certain Airbnbs, pretty much every Airbnb has gone up. So if that's your only way of getting apartments, then yes, you will be paying more. You will be paying premium for apartments. But I think Asuncion still offers one of the best quality of life, one of the best low cost living, one of the best value cities all over South America, all over Central and all over Mexico. But as I mentioned, if you're staying in gringo zones like Shopping the Sol or Villa Mora, those places are getting more expensive. Even the restaurants are getting more expensive there. But it's still not that bad. If you compare it to like a Mexico, like maybe a Guadalajara, Mexico City, even Puebla, like those places are more expensive than Asuncion, in my opinion. Even, Guatemala City, more expensive. I'd be spending more in Guatemala City to live the same type of lifestyle than I do in Asuncion. Once you get to Colombia and you get outside of Medellin, then I think there's a lot of good purchasing power that exists there. I think Lima, Peru still offers pretty good purchasing power. Even that's getting more expensive too. So in my opinion, once you get out of Villa Mora or Shopping del Sol, I mean, anything really outside of there is still going to be very good. And depending on, what zone it is and that sort of thing, then you can still live a really good life here for a low cost of living. And I always say the magic number is still $2,500 a month, right? $2,500 a month gives you a really good life. Really anywhere in South America, you just take your pick. But I think, now it comes down to value. Like, where do you get the most bang for your buck? And Asuncion is still a good place, in my opinion. And by the way, if you're still not earning 2,500, I mean, I'm surprised by the amount of people that I meet that still don't have location independent income, right? They either have their income back home and they come here for a period of time just to check it out, or maybe they've recently left a remote job, or maybe they just got fired from the remote job and now they're kind of in limbo. What are they going to do next? I've met those types of people. So if you guys need help earning online, and specifically if you want help launching a personal brand using YouTube that makes your first income online, then I am creating a school community. It should launch by the end of this month. By the end of this month, just check out the link in the description. It's called Sovereign Creator, and I'm really excited about launching that at the end of this month. Another thing that I love about Paraguay is its territorial tax system. All right, so if you're someone who plans on earning income online, or maybe your own online business, then this becomes very important because your income is now scalable. You can literally make money when you sleep. The more videos you put out, the more offers you put out, the better you become at business and offers and sales, right? On marketing, then the more scalable your income becomes. And why wouldn't you want to grow your income? Just like you want to grow other areas of your life, right? You want to improve yourself. You want to have a high quality of life. Same thing goes with the income, I think. So that being true, then being in a territorial tax country becomes more important because you are not taxed inside the country. Any country you earn online outside of Paraguay is basically tax free, right? Unless you're from the States like I am, then we do have the foreign earned income tax exclusion, which as of now it's about 132,000. So anything up to 132,000, you don't pay Fed tax. Anything above that, you do pay something. Of course, talk to a tax attorney, of course, but this goes up a little bit each year. So for me, not having to legally pay taxes in the country that I'm living in is really important. I was talking to Danny Money Moves, right? I guess he was telling me there's a new place that's going to be like the new Dubai that China's creating. And I was like, as long as I have one or two places that are either low tax, no tax, or territorial tax countries, I'm good. And for me, that's Paraguay. But if anything were to go wrong with Paraguay, if they were to change any laws, anything like that, then my backup's going to be Guatemala, right? So that's a territorial tax country. I could live a very good life in Guatemala, and I'm actually working on getting a passport there. So these are things that you should probably think about too, as far as whatever country you choose. Depending on your financial situation, if you want to build scalable income online, then you want either a low tax, no tax, or territorial tax, my opinion, because scalability matters once your income is online. Next thing I love about Asuncion is the friendliness of the people, right? Like, you can't really beat the amount of welcomeness you get here. All right. Just a couple stories. I walked into a cell phone store, purchased a cell phone, basically told them that I like to, I play paddle here. I like eating asado here. And from that, now they're inviting me to asados. They're inviting me to play paddle. So easy to make friends when you walk into any store. If you just chop it up a little bit, share some common interests, you can easily have a new friend, right? Another example is an Uber driver who's also he's a techno DJ. And he's a pretty cool guy. He actually DJs techno events that are like 300 plus people. He's actually pretty popular. And we were just having a regular conversation, kind of chopped it up. Now he's inviting me out to his techno events, right? This is a guy who has access to pretty cool events. So you just never know who you're going to meet as far as Paraguayans go. Most people don't speak English. This Uber driver, this techno DJ, he does speak a little bit of English. So we did talk a little bit in English there. But once you start speaking Spanish, obviously that's going to open up. Like the guys at the cell phone store, they spoke, actually one of them did speak English, but most of them did not speak English. So once you start learning Spanish, of course, Spanish is going to be a game changer for you for social, for dating, for connections, for opportunities. Spanish does go a long way here. But I'd say Paraguay and Asuncion is definitely one of the more friendlier places that I've been to around all over Latin America. Another thing I love about Asuncion is the ability to live here long-term with just residency, cedula, and also banking. So as you guys probably know, visas can be a headache in other countries. And visas are also very subject to change. When I say visas, I mean like rentista visas, student visas, digital nomad visas, which these are okay if you want to stay in a country long-term. But I just think it's not ideal because they can always change and they could be a headache to get as well, depending on the country. So residencies for me are where it's at, right? Residencies and passports once you're more serious about living outside your home country. And residencies are actually very expensive in other countries. If you don't have $100,000 that you could put towards a residency, then you're pretty limited with your options. The exceptions are literally Paraguay and Mexico when it comes to getting residencies. You don't need to prove that you earn a lot of money. You don't need to prove that you have X amount in savings. You don't need to make a significant investment of at least $100,000 towards whatever. In Paraguay, literally for less than $2,000, I was able to attain residency. I have my cedula card. I've opened up a bank account. So if you have at least $2,000 to your name, I think it's a no-brainer to get Paraguay residency and get a cedula and open up a bank account even. One of the things I should have done before I left the US in 2022, it's just I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I wasn't thinking about residencies or living outside the States. I just wanted to travel and, just kind of explore. But knowing what I know now, I could have got Paraguay residency before. It wouldn't have been temporary residency, it would have been permanent residency. So I could have just gone straight to permanent and skipped through the whole temporary residency part. So I would say if you guys are serious about, what's going on in the States, if you're worried about, inflation, taxes, cost of living going up, and everything that I talk about on this channel about why I left the United States, then I would say start working on this now. Again, $2,000, you can get everything done. Links in the description if you want to work with my residency specialist. I've already had good friends, close friends work with them. Nothing but good things to say about Alejandro, who I work with. Not Alessandro, by the way. Alejandro, completely different guy. So yeah, links in the description for that. Another thing I love is the walkability that exists in this city. Now, if you're in any one of these areas, Las Lomas, Solj, Mariscal, Paseo, Yucasati, even Las Mercedes, even there's so many different areas in Asuncion, and each one of them is very walkable. When I say walkable, like literally I walk outside my building and I have within 5-10 minutes, I have coffee shops, I have grocery stores, I have bars, I have restaurants, I have everything that I need within walking distance. It's also very flat here. When I was living in Medellin, very hilly. If you live in Poblado or Envigado or Parque de Sabaneta, there's a lot of hills, right? It's not really that walkable. It's not enjoyable versus, like a Laureles. This is like Laureles all over the city, right? Which is great. I definitely like the walkability aspect of Asuncion. Another thing is the safety. I know I talk a lot about safety, especially if you want to consider having a family someday, children someday, this becomes more important. Paraguay is just safer than other places that I've been to, such as Colombia or Mexico. If you're a single guy, you should be fine wherever you're at, in my opinion, as long as you don't do, dumb stuff, which I talk about in other videos. But here in general, I just found that the threat is a lot lower. Of course, it exists. Crime exists in every single country, in every single city. You just have to avoid the bad areas. You just have to not be dumb. and that's pretty much it. But yeah, when it comes to the family aspect, I mean, the kind of place where you can actually picture building a long-term life, having kids, having your wife and kids maybe go about their day while you're going about your day, right? This is a good place for that. So safety is another good thing that I like about Paraguay. And just to add a little bit more on that, never had anything happen to me here. Never had anything happen to me anywhere in South America, Mexico, Central America, Caribbean, nothing, right? But I have heard stories from people that I do know in places like Colombia or Mexico, where they either got robbed or drugged. So it does exist more in other places. Here, I haven't heard one story where someone got robbed or drugged, so I just have to mention that as well. Another thing is the strategic location of where it's located in South America, right? Proximities to, well, obviously we know that Paraguay is landlocked, but proximity to beaches such as in Brazil, you got the northern part of Brazil, you have Natal, Fortaleza, Recife. Down here, you have Florianópolis, which is where most of the Paraguayans go. That's if you want beaches. You also have Punta de Este down here in Uruguay. If you want big city energy, because Asuncion is a mid-sized city, you don't have all the perks of like international cuisine, of all the optionality, fun things to do. So, you go to Sao Paulo, you go to Rio de Janeiro, you go to Buenos Aires, you go to Lima, or you can go to Bogota. All that stuff is a direct flight away for a reasonable cost as well. And the other thing is the distance from US and Canadian tourists, right? I like being in a place where it's not touristy. I grew up in Boston. Boston's a very tourist city. I actually grew up in a city outside of Boston, which is very popular for Halloween season. So I know all about living in tourist areas. It's just not for me. I prefer being in a place where we're not going to get the short-term travelers that are just coming there to either, exploit the city. Tourists typically raise prices, on Airbnbs or rents or in restaurants and pretty much everything. And then you also have the types that come here just for the women and, like you'll see in Colombia, Medellin, Cartagena. So, the more off the beaten path it is, the more difficult it is to get to, then I like that because we're not going to attract the wrong type of tourist. So strategic location is something I like. Another one is the growth opportunities here. So once you come to Asuncion, you'll notice that there are a lot of new high-rise buildings going up. There's projects like Crystal Lagoon projects. Let me see if I can pull one up real quick. Since there is no ocean here, they are building like new projects where they're going to have lagoons, and let's see if they like something like this, right? Like a lake style property enclosed, which I think is pretty cool. So different cool projects. Obviously, you have property rights exist here, land ownership. If you're someone who wants to own land, you want to construct and build on top of that. For less than 100,000 outside of Asuncion, probably outside of San Lorenzo, you can make that happen, right? You can build your own compound here if you want. You can grow your own food. You can grow your own vegetables, your own fruits. You could be more self-staining, which I like that idea into the future, having a place that's, self-staining, construct my own home, and then maybe have a place in the city, like an apartment in the city. I have the best of both worlds. So all that's possible here, man. And being in a place that's rising, that's up and coming, it just feels good to be a part of that versus in a society such as US that's more, it's already hit its peak. Now it's on the decline. A lot of people want to leave. Just better to be in a place that's rising. It feels good to be in that type of an environment. And that's it for this list, guys. The list can go on, but I don't want to make this video too long, right? So hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. If you guys made it this far, then in the description, I have links on applying for Paraguayan residency. It's absolutely free to apply. If you guys need help building location-independent income, you want to build a YouTube personal brand, then I'm creating that community. Links in the description. Join that now. Or if you just want to watch similar videos to this one here, then check out the one I did on my 1-year update in Asuncion, and I'll see you there.